welcome to the Trauma Flavored Chapters podcast. I'm Serenity, and this is a place where I share my past and present chapters with you completely unfiltered. Zero. Do you see that? None of them. And I'm just so excited to get into today's episode, but also, if this is not a chapter that you're relating to right now, I still really hope that you are able to connect with it so it'll help you connect with your loved ones even deeper. So, before I jump in though, I wanted to stop and say thank you. Just thank you so much for following, liking, just messaging me. If you did any single one of those things, I am so beyond fucking grateful. I cannot tell you how many times I have happy cried this week. I haven't happy cried in so long. And I just didn't realize that it would be so healing to share my mom's story with you. So, mommy trauma. Yeah, it makes me so happy that you got to hear her story, that you connected with it. I love you and I am so fucking grateful for you. Just thank you for doing all those things, for being encouraging, for being kind, for reaching out to me. The personal messages that I got, I literally cried, and I just want to say thank you so much. I love you, and I'm so happy that this podcast got to you. I'm like, it's mind boggling that I'm like reaching people that I don't know, and I'm just so grateful that we get to be friends now and that we get to connect. So, thank you so much, and I love you. So, I hope you enjoy this episode and all the episodes to come. So, oh, and one more thing. I know I need to probably start saying this in episodes, but if you can like and you can share and just share with your loved ones. I really don't care where you share it. Please, if you can share it, it would be absolutely amazing because I'm trying to get to as many people as I can, connect with you, and just help as many people as I can. So, thank you so much, and let's get into today's episode. So, this episode, well, before I even say that, I know I'm taking forever to get into it. But I do want to say a trigger warning, just a heads up for everybody. I will be talking about drugs and suicidal ideation, so viewer discretion is advised. So, yeah, I won't be diving too. I will actually no. I'm like, just for an overall trigger warning. I don't know how like deep I'll be getting into it, and I don't know. I just don't want to negatively affect or impact anybody if you are currently struggling with either of those things. So, just wanted to let you get a little heads up. That's it. But this episode and mommy trauma episode is for the ones that have lost their loved ones and have been just struggling with that. And I want you to know that I am here for you. And I want you to know that these episodes are for your inner child that has been abandoned unwillingly by your loved ones passing on. So I want to say that. And even if your loved ones haven't passed on or anything like that, like I said in the beginning, I really hope that this can help you connect with your loved ones because your loved ones that are going through this, they need love, they need support. And even if it's just you sitting in the silence with them, they need that. So that is who this episode is for. It's for all y'all. So I left you, and also you probably will see me looking this way a couple times because I have little notes to keep me on track for the timeline and all the details. So, and also this is new. I'll be holding my little speaker because I'm trying to make the noise better. So I hope that it's not super breathy or super weird. So, anyways. So this is a part 2 to mommy trauma. If you can't tell by what I've been talking about, this is a part 2. I'm going to be diving back into my timeline of all this trauma, and I'm also going to be talking about the healing process and what I did to heal afterwards. Yeah. we're gonna dive in now. I did kind of like in the beginning of the other episode, I am going to read you something from my journal. I was trying to figure out how just like the things that I missed about my mom. And I was like, what do I miss about her? Because I did really want to talk about it because it's a timeline after her. And so, yeah, I'm going to read this little poem journal prompt thingy I did. It's called I Miss Her. I miss her. I miss the way she felt when she hugged me, my face in her neck, her curls touching my face. I miss how at night she would put her reading glasses on and look so cute. I miss sitting next to her watching TV. I miss our long drives together. I miss the safety she gave me. It felt like she would protect me from the world and anything evil in it. Her absolute devotion. I miss seeing her happy. I miss her cackle. I miss existing in the same room as her. I miss witnessing how much she loved our animals and how deeply she cared for them. Watching her make 50 bottles for baby goats she saved, or seeing her trying to figure out why our dog had oily fur so she could fix it. How much she cared about roadkill when when most people wouldn't even take a second glance, but not her. She would stop to check if it was alive or if the possums had babies in their pouches. I miss how much she loved peppermint ice cream and microwave nachos. I miss watching her pick out her favorite wine glass or mug from her special cabinets that were only hers. I miss the little things. I miss seeing how proud of me she was and still is. I miss how she complained about her gray hairs. I miss the way she would come home from the salon and stand in front of the mirror playing with her curls, fluffing them as if she were greeting herself with a quiet joy. I miss the smell of her hair products. I miss watching her put makeup on. I miss how much she loved braiding my hair and how peaceful it felt when she did. I miss how much she loved when I braided my own hair. She always said it made me look like her little girl. I miss how I would end and start my days with her. At night, it would be our special little prayer, always a prayer, a kiss goodnight, and an I love you. Every morning, it was a hug good morning and a kiss goodbye before school. I miss how overjoyed she was by watching me sleep. She would take so many pictures of me sleeping, and I never understood until now. One of the things I miss most is the joy I brought to her. To experience the joy and love she felt for me existing. To truly be seen in this world just as you are and not based on actions or what you can give. It's a special gift not everyone can give you. I think that is a part of true love we all crave. To experience and witness the love, joy, and beauty someone feels simply because you exist. To experience pure joy just by her looking at me and being in her presence was something magical. I miss her being a physical part of my life. I miss her being a witness to all of her joys. Or I miss being witness to all of her joys. But most of all, I just miss being a witness to her life. So that is I miss her. And I hope you got a really good sense of how much I miss her. I literally just cannot, even with all those words, I just can't really express how much I miss her. The thing that I kind of want to touch more on is the part of true love, writing this and it realizing that just someone looking at you and you're not even having to do anything and them just experiencing you and just getting so much joy by that, I that is just so magical. And I actually was like looking up like specific words to explain that better, and they were in other languages, so it was like it was just mind-boggling for me to kind of express that more deeply on, and I hope you are experiencing that or have experienced that in your lifetime, because I just freaking love that. I love it so much, and it warms my heart that I got to experience that with my mom. And I think that I got to experience that with her, and that's something that I've been looking for in relationships, is to have that deep connective love. And yeah, so that'll come back in. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, of that deep deep love. I just, I am beyond grateful that I got to experience that once in my lifetime. I think that I've definitely experienced that with my friendships and with some family members, but I just think back to like my mom specifically, and it was just like so magical. But we're gonna hop back in here and hop back into the timeline. So that was I Miss Her. You got the trigger warnings. And last I left you on was her passing away in hospice, and how I left my old life. I was walking back into my life, but it was without her. So it was a completely different new one. I felt really, really disconnected after she left. I remember walking down that hallway, getting into the car, and just driving back home. And I'm like, this doesn't even feel like my home anymore, because what made it home isn't here anymore, which was her. I remember coming home and her hospital bed was still there, her all of her clothes, like everything was still there, but she wasn't. And it's very like, the word that comes to mind is like ghostly. It feels like a ghost town. You like go into your house and you're like, everything that made it what it is isn't here anymore. And so the next couple days after that was just very disorienting, because I'm like, my whole life is different. And from that moment on, I became severely disconnected. How I went through my days and how I kind of got through that was being disassociated and shoving it down. And that is actually a survival pattern for me still to this day, is when things come up, I'm really good at avoiding it. I just like shove it down, I keep it right here, and I kind of just put it in the back of my head, and then I'll be able to be, I think now I'm able to be happy, but during this time I was just shoving it down and masking it all and putting like this fake happiness over top of my face, just so I wouldn't have to talk about it. Or I did that for my family a lot. I i just saw how my mom was the glue to our family, and was I just saw her role. I saw what she did. I saw, like, after she left, I saw the effort that she put into our home and all of those things. And I didn't want my family to hurt. So I was like, I'm not going to talk about my feelings a lot with them. I'm just going to shove it down here. But then I started trying to fill her place so that they wouldn't hurt as much. So I started, like, with my dad specifically. I noticed that she would make their bed every morning. And so I started making their bed every morning right after he would leave, and I would do the dishes. I started cooking. Obviously, I'm like super young, and I was not good at cooking either. And I saw that she would like clean the whole house, so I became very obsessive with cleaning. I would say to a level of OCD. I I don't think I've been like clinically. I don't know if it would be clinically. What the frick is the word? My brain just farted. But yeah, I haven't been. Doctor hasn't been like, you're OCD, but I can tell that I have OCD tendencies. And I look back then, and how I talked about in the past episode about how my mom started like controlling things. I didn't have control. It felt like I had no control over what was happening. So I started cleaning. Cleaning was like, I can physically make a change, I can physically control something. And so I would literally till like 3 in the morning scrub baseboards obsessively. And I would just mop and mop and mop and mop. And I remember like my family members coming home and I would be like so upset that they got like the floor like dirty. It's like I just became extremely obsessive because it was a way for me to cope. And it was not good. I started getting insomnia. I would stay up all night and just clean and clean and clean. And oh, that was the one thing I did before, like I wanted to talk about because I didn't talk about it in the last episode about how people become really, really selfish. I recognized when I was 14 around death, people, like with my mom specifically, like her illness was not curable. Nothing was going to change that. And at least back in 2017, maybe now there's a lot of different things now in 2026 that would have helped her, but that was non-changeable. And I just saw how people got really selfish. It's like, I can't live without you. I can't, what am I going to do without you? And I'm like, it's not about you, it's about them and their quality of life. Like, what about her? And I remember becoming disconnected at that point. I don't really know exactly in the timeline when I became super disconnected in that way, but it definitely was a way of coping. But it was also the word like respect comes up for my mom's life. I'm like, you can go. I don't want to be sitting here and be like, I can't, I need you, I need you. Obviously, I want her, and I wanted her a lot, obviously, to stay, but it's not fair when people are going through that, I think, to be overly selfish. And like, I get it. We obviously are, I felt that of being like, I can't live without you. How am I supposed to live without you? But that is probably when I became a little more disconnected, and this whole timeline is me becoming more disconnected. So I thought that was important to kind of bring back into the timeline. So, yeah, I just noticed people are very selfish around death, and I became very disconnected to let her move on, but also let me kind of move on. And the other thing is when she died, I remember being in the hospice room. And this is like horrible to say, but there's no way other people that have lost their parents or a loved one that have been sick for like a really long time don't feel like this. I cannot be the only one. I remember when I woke up and she was gone, I felt a physical like uplift off my shoulders. I didn't realize that I was holding so much weight on me and fear, and it just was like, oh my god, this is horrible to say. Thank God she's dead. I was like, thank God she is dead, because I don't have to sit here and watch her suffer and dwindle away into somebody I don't recognize anymore. And it feels wrong to say that, but it feels so right, because I didn't want to be selfish enough to try and hold her there longer than she needed to be. And I just I knew it was time, but it this like physical release happened, and I was very grateful to feel that way because I just didn't want to see her suffer any longer. But then at the same time, how I would explain to people is like this, imagine like a circle cookie cutter got pushed through my body and there was just a hole left. And that has what it has felt like for a very long time. I think the hole has definitely shrunk or shrank. And but it was huge. I could just feel it in my chest. It felt like someone had taken a piece of me. And throughout time, I have realized I have been trying to fill that hole of her being gone. And yeah, those were a couple of things that I just felt like I didn't bring up in the last episode that is needed to be talked about to continue into this episode. The physical release and being thankful that she is gone, and also how people can be very selfish around death. So, anyways, going back into our little timeline here, yeah, we had to go back to our home. So, to connect back to our timeline, my sister and I, so I was in 8th grade, my sister is in her senior year. We're not even finished with school yet. So, we have to go back to school and just move on and continue on with our days, which is really freaking hard. With disassociating, it made it easier to be able to put on a face. It made it easier to go throughout my day, but I was not like that 24/7. My school had like knew about it. The principal, like all of my teachers knew about my mom and knew that it was affecting me, and I feel very grateful that they were a really really great support system because they were checking on me constantly. They saw me like having a mental breakdown, they would pull me out of class. But I remember going to class and just hearing kids shit talk their moms, and they're like, well, my mom's being such a bitch today, or my mom this, and I would just start sobbing my eyes out. And people are like, why are you crying? Or why, like, I would be look like watching somebody while they're talking, and they're like, what, why are you? And I'm like, your mom is alive, my mom is dead. Like, be grateful and quit calling your mom a bitch. Like, I would get so angry and just so upset that kids, like, obviously at that age, kids are like that, but it was so difficult to be like, my mom is dead. Like, can you be fucking grateful that yours isn't? And I wish my mom was being a bitch right now. I wish my mom was telling me to take out the garbage. And I remember from like pushing it down for so long, I would have breakdowns in class and at school, and I would have to go sit in the office for long periods, and it was really hard to be around a lot of kids that have no idea what I'm talking about. And for the longest time, I actually just wouldn't talk about it. And for strangers, I would pretend that she was alive. So a lot of times they're like, oh, like, they're just asking questions, like, I don't know. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, she's doing this. Or I would just pretend that she was alive because it was easier for me at the time to be like, oh, yeah, my mom's just like at home instead of being like, my mom's dead. And that was definitely a coping mechanism. But then doing that for so long, it messes with your brain of being like, well, you're saying she's alive. Is she alive? And then I'm like, well, no, obviously she's dead. And then it's just like this push and pull in your brain going back and forth of being like, oh, is she alive or is she dead? And that was that was just so hard. I now I'm 20, turning 24 this year, and I just look back and I'm like, oh, you poor sweet girl. Like, think about her being my inner child, and I'm just like, you poor thing to go through that. And like, obviously I'm the same, like, I'm not the same person, but I am at the same time, obviously. And it's so hard to now think about how young I was, and I'm like, oh, you're just trying. Like, I wish I had someone there at the time that I could relate to better, or had more a different type of support. So I'd be like, hey girl, I understand, because I'm like frustrated because none of my friends understand. And also at this time, so my sister's in her senior year of high school. She's dating, and then my dad at the time, he is struggling a lot. Obviously, he just lost the love of his life, and he's struggling with even being in the house. He's struggling with being around us, and we had a separate property behind our property that we were at. He had bought that property, and he would just go stay at that house because it was really hard for him. And now that I'm older, I completely understand. And he just, the love of his life just left him, and he was left being a single parent of two girls. So, but for me, it was really, really hard because my sister got her boyfriend after high school, but at this time, I feel insanely alone. My dad is not there a lot. My sister ends up getting a boyfriend, and I'm kind of just left alone at home. At this time, I'm in 8th grade, I'm in sports, I'm in band. So things are still keeping me busy at this time. And I'm like still in the a good friend group, and I'm still like hanging out with people, but I'm disassociating. I'm not really talking about it. I'm kind of hiding from people, hiding my emotions truly. And yeah, it just set with other kids. I was like, "What the fuck? You have your mom? Fuck you." I was like, "What the heck?" Oh, that was the other thing. I got really, really envious of my older siblings. So I got envious of other kids on like you have a mom and you're complaining about her. And then I start thinking, well, my brothers are like 13 years older than I am and 10 years older than me, 10 and 9. And I was like, what the fuck? They got her for this many years and I only got her for 14. So then I became envious of my brothers. I don't think my brothers, I don't remember them coming around a lot at this time. Obviously, everyone in my family is just dealing with this hardcore trauma of losing our favorite person of our lives. And so I'm envious of my brothers. I'm envious of these other kids. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I remember we envious of them. I got very envious of other kids. I just started pulling back a lot. And like I said, this whole time, I'm disassociating. I'm pulling back. I'm pulling back from my family. I'm putting a front on my face for my family so that I I'm trying to help them suffer less. That is like I'm not sure why I did this, but I went into like survival mode of like I want to make sure my family doesn't suffer, but also I'm going to put on a front for my friends and my family and I'm going to stuff it down so I don't have to deal about it. I think it was just a survival instinct of kind of avoiding and yeah, I just was numbing and numbing and numbing myself. So I remember just kind of going this timeline also I'm sorry if it's like kind of like all over the place because at this time when in the beginning it's very confusing and it's very blurry when I think back to it because I think I was just in survival mode. So a core thing that I remember within this little timeline is my dad brought her ashes home. And the day that that happened, I was like making a sandwich, and my dad walks in the front door, and he has a box in his hand. And he puts it like right by the toaster, and I like look over at him. I was like, "Oh, what's the package for? Like, what is that?" And he goes, "It's your mom." And I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "Yeah, it's your mom in a box." And I was like, "Oh, cool, cool." Don't know how to feel about that. I instantly didn't like it. I was like, "What the heck is going on?" And he's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I'm gonna leave. Are you good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And I remember just holding, I don't know why I held a front on with my family so much. I wanted them to hurt less. I didn't want them to hurt any more than they had to. I, for some reason, didn't want to make my emotions like their responsibility, even though as a parent, that is your part of your responsibility as being a support system for them. And I remember he walked out the door, and as soon as he left and I saw him leave, I crumbled. I think I was just holding it in for so long, and I remember just my legs gave out. I just remember my legs like couldn't even hold my body weight up anymore. I landed on the ground and I was like holding the counter and I just started screaming. This was probably one of the hardest like moments for me. I was journaling about this so I could tell you guys about it, and this is when I truly broke, and I just I felt like I gave up. I was so lost. I was so confused, and I was like, why me? My mom believed in God. I believe God and the universe now is the same thing, but my mom was so deeply believing that God would save her, God would do something. And I remember just sitting there screaming and crying. Why would you do this to me? If you're a good God, why would you take the person that I love the most away from me? Why me? Why? What did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve you taking away my mom? Why? And I still will go through these spirals every blue moon and I will be like, why me? Why? That was to even look back at that moment in my life. That is the day that I became terrified, and I mean terrified of God and terrified of the universe. Because if the universe and the God could treat me like this and crush my soul to the depths that it might almost disappear, what else does life have in store for me? What will this life do to me? Because I am fucking terrified. I'm at that point, I was so fucking terrified of who is next. Am I next? Is my sister next? Is my dad next? Who is next? Because I'm fucking scared. And that took me a really long time to heal from and connect with people, because why would I connect with people when they're just going to be ripped away from me? Like, why? Sorry, I'm looking around because, oh my god, there's a bee. Oh my god. My I'll talk about signs later, but my mom shows up. I got super distracted. My mom shows up in bee form, or like signs of bees. So I get distracted. But anyways, yeah, that took a very very long time for me to heal that part of myself, to not be terrified, to connect with people in fear of them dying, in fear of them, of something happening to them. I even remember when I was just, this thought popped in my head. I remember when my therapist came into my life, and my first thought after really deeply connecting with her is that she was going to die. So I don't feel like that much anymore. But yeah, I started therapy a while ago. But yeah, that is some of the damage that after losing her happened. And it was really, really fucking scary to be like moving through the world like that and being like, where's the next fucking shoe? Like, what is happening? Um, so yeah, that is the day that I distrusted God and the universe. And from here in the timeline, I my sister graduated high school. I left 8th grade and went into my freshman year of high school. So my sister's out and about doing her thing. My dad's at the other house, and I'm still at our main house. And I, at this time, am very involved in cross country. I absolutely still love cross country. I'm not a runner anymore by any means, but I have a deep, deep love for cross country because I think cross country and my coaches and my teammates being so deeply involved in that sport kept me going for a really long time. And it was a really good distraction. It was very healthy. It was very good for me to be in, and to have like a community of people my age, but also to have, I had, it was a married couple, my coach. It was a husband and wife, and I absolutely freaking love them. So now I'm going into high school, and yeah, my cross country coaches are very involved in my life. A very big support system for me, is a very healthy. I think I did the summer program before going into my freshman year. So I did like a summer thing with them, and I ran with them all the time throughout the summer. And I think that kept me going for a while, kept me in the community of healthy people. And just, I feel like moving, definitely when you're getting depressed, like moving your body. And yeah, I absolutely love them. I give them a huge freaking thanks. If you're listening, hi. I give them a huge thanks of being so supportive and so loving. I really, really needed that then. So then moving forward, I started high school, and it was my freshman year. And I remember the very first day I was there, I was like, oh my God, this is like a sea of people. I remember like looking over and I saw this like super tall guy and like, boom, I had a huge crush on the first day of high school. I end up talking to him, and that is my high school boyfriend for about 7 months. That is probably when things started to shift a lot because when I was talking earlier, I had that cookie cutter hole in my heart. I didn't, before him, I didn't really try and fill that. But then I started dating him and I was trying to unknowingly fill the hole in my heart with another person. So I became very attached to him and I ended up meeting his mom, and I'm still friends with her and I absolutely love her. Her mom passed away of cancer when she was 9, and when she heard about my mom, we just deeply connected on that. And it was so nice to have someone else in my life being like, oh my God, like my mom also passed away from cancer. And she just like swooped in and like was so supportive. And it made me feel so understood. But she felt like the only person that really understood, besides like my family members. Like to have an outside person validate that and be so supportive and loving was really what I had needed in that time. But moving forward with him, I was definitely trying to fill a hole, but also we're in high school. He's smoking weed. We have a big group of friends that I end up hanging out with, just him and his friends, and they're all weed smokers. And I start smoking weed. Oh, I figure out weed. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to like numb myself. This is even better to numb myself. So then I'm grabbing outside things to now numb myself even more. So I'm like, let's smoke weed. I start smoking weed like every day. I start hiding it in my house. I start freaking buying weed from people. This becomes like my thing. And definitely within this relationship too, we're smoking a bunch of weed. But I remember my biological dad came into the picture for a little bit and he came to visit me. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? He finds out I'm smoking weed. Instead of being like, probably a girl that's grieving right now and is smoking this much weed needs help. Like, oh, my kid probably shouldn't be smoking weed. No, he was like, let me buy you more weed and let me go buy you a bong and drive you to your boyfriend's house that's throwing a party. And I'm like, what the hell? And so that happens. And so now I'm being encouraged by a parental figure to like continue doing this bad behavior, but I'm also hiding it from my dad that raised me, my dad, and I'm hiding it in my room. And so now this is when like lies are starting. My dad is obviously like, my dad that raised me is obviously like noticing some things. He's like, oh, are you? He's like straight up asking me. And I'm like, no, no, just straight up lying to his face. And moving a little bit forward. So I'm starting to lie. I'm starting to smother my feelings even deeper into like drugs, all this different stuff. So, oh, that was the other sweet thing. So, even though all this bad behavior is starting to spiral, um my ex's mom starts inviting me over for dinners. She is like noticing that I'm alone a lot in my home, and so that was like definitely a big part of that I loved about that relationship, is that like I got to go over there for dinner. I got to have like a little bit of family time. Like I really wanted to stay in that relationship because I was so connected with his mom. And that obviously ends up ending. I think that damaged me even more because I'm trying to like fill this void, fill this void. I'm smoking weed. I end up getting grounded because I'm smoking weed. My dad flips out. He's like, what the hell? Finds out my biological dad was buying me weed and buying me bongs. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so I get grounded. He takes my phone away. And that is when, oh, actually, no, a little bit before. So I find out that my ex boyfriend is cheating on me. And I found out on his birthday, actually. I bought him like as a freaking teenager, I think I'm 14 or 15 at the time. I buy him like indoor skydiving tickets. I do all this random shit that I'm like, what was I thinking? But yeah, I find out after, I think it was on his birthday, I found out that he was cheating on me because a friend of mine had texted me screenshots of him texting another girl. She had told him, like, hey, you don't tell her I am. And I end up seeing the text messages, and he's texting this girl and he's like, hey, I can't break up with her. And she's like, why can't you break up with her? And he said, oh, it's because her mom just died. And I was like, to read that was so shocking. I was like, you don't want to break up with me because my mom just died? What? So then I start spiraling and I'm thinking like, oh, now boys that want to be in a relationship with me only are staying because they pity me. They pity me, and that's it. So moving into other relationships, that was really hard because I'm like, oh, you just learned like my life story. Do you pity me? And that's why, like, do you want to leave but you're staying because you just pity me? So that created a core belief and a belief that like I'm not enough. Like you didn't want to stay just because like I'm not enough and like I'm broken and all these other things. So that was very hurtful and like just fucking sucked, quite honestly. And it's like my first breakup. I'm like absolutely heartbroken. I'm becoming even more depressed. The reason like our whole like our or not the reason it ended after like I got grounded from smoking weed. He kind of like started like avoiding me, and then that's kind of how we ended up breaking up. And so then from there, I think it was still on the cross country team, or one of that's what it was. One of my friends from the cross country team, she was like, "Hey, you're friends with like everybody," because I was like a little social butterfly in school. I just like talked to everybody, and I just connect really easily with people. And so, and she knew I was smoking weed. I was kind of already in that group of like druggies, and she asked me like, "Hey, just I'm not gonna continue doing this all the time, but I'm looking for Xanax. Can you get me Xanax?" And I was like, yeah, totally. And like my sweet little heart, then I was just like, I'm just trying to help. I just want to help. And so I end up finding a drug dealer, and the original one that I was gonna like contact went to prison. And so then I found a different one that was still going to our high school. He was a senior. And I was like, hey, can I like get some Xanax off of you? So I buy Xanax from him and then I give them to her, and I was like curious about it. I was like, oh, like I want to try some. And so I'm doing Xanax at school now, and it didn't agree with me very well. I didn't really like it, but it clicked in my head. I go, you can't smell pills. You can smell weed and you can get caught with weed, but you can't smell pills. And so that is the timeline I started snorting Xanax and painkillers. I ended up becoming friends with my drug dealer. So then I would go hang out with him after school, and I would start snorting freaking painkillers and all this other stuff. And then he started giving it to me for free. And so all this like stuff is happening. I'm starting to do drugs. And also, I kind of skimmed over when I was in my relationship in high school. I was sneaking out then. That's when like the lying and sneaking out even started. I started getting confident then, and I would go over to my exes now, hit my ex-boyfriend's like friends' houses. I would lie to my dad and be like, well, my friend Tiffany, and really his name's Tristan. And so I would go over to his house and I would spend the night with all their friends, and we would smoke weed. We would go freaking driving into like freaking hours away. I don't even know where the hell we were. Honestly, I don't know how much. I don't know where the fuck we were going. They were very sweet people. They weren't gonna do anything, but like I don't know where the fuck we're going. I'm smoking weed. I'm just hopping in cars with people, and we're driving hours away. We're coming back. I'm spending the night at their house. I'm smoking weed. I'm just like kicking up trouble left and right. And I enjoyed just being like out and about, but also I think I enjoyed it to the fact of like I'm doing things that I'm not supposed to be doing. I'm like getting like a, what is it? I'm like numb, so I'm like, ooh, exhilarating, something different, something new. And then I'm like, okay, well, the weed numbs things out, like numbs my feelings out. The pills numb them out even more. And so I quit smoking weed and I just start snorting pills. And the high just makes you so numb. And it was like, that's what I'm looking for. But in that time, I am getting so severely depressed that I my will to live is dwindling. I start not eating. I'm only eating bread and peanut butter. I start like restricting food from myself because I'm like, you don't deserve to eat. And I just, my self worth after my, I broke up with my boyfriend, or we broke up, whatever. After we broke up, it was my just self worth was dwindling even more, and I quit eating and I became anemic. I had to be taken to the doctor and I got diagnosed anemic and depressed. So then I got put on antidepressants at the time, which I think obviously I'm mixing them with painkillers and other things. It's making me even more numbed out, and I think I started like disassociating more because people are like, "Oh, you like," I was told like, "You need this," and like, "It's just a crutch for now. It's okay." And like, I definitely, I don't know if the antidepressants were better or worse, but it made me feel really weird in the head. I was like, "Oh, I'm broken." That's what I kept telling myself. I was like, "Oh, I need to be on antidepressants because I'm so broken. I'm unfixable. I'm unlovable." And just all of these like really horrible thoughts are coming up. These very negative belief systems are now being created. And my biggest core one that I work with now a lot is I'm not enough. And it's like, well, I'm not enough for this, or that, or like, I'm not enough to stay in a relationship with. I'm not enough for my mom to be alive. Like, I'm not enough for like any of these different things. And so the depression's getting worse. I even like think back to that time, and I don't even think I was crying much. I was just so like out of it. And so then, like I said, my will to live is starting to dwindle even more. And I start thinking about, okay, what is my way out? What are my options? I'm already taking pills. I'm already doing this. Like, I started making plan of action to commit suicide. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and find other pills to like mix and like take a bunch of them all at once so I can just like be out of here. And my dad and I are like fighting at this time too. He's like, he also was a very different person then and in my childhood than he is now. He's been in therapy since my mom passed away, and he handles how he talks to people and how like we have a great relationship now, but back then it was really hard because he was very frustrated, it felt like, with me, and it felt just like I just remember arguing with him at dinner. He's like, why do you have to sit here like this?" Or like, "Why do you," he was, I don't know what he was doing, he was on one. And I remember just like having a mental breakdown in the like restaurant and just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and they're like, "Oh my god." So they like put me in the car. They started drug testing me, and that like even made me wig out even more because obviously I was doing drugs. But I'm like, instead of being like, "Are you okay? How are you?" Like, nothing. They're like, "We're going to start drug testing you because something's wrong with you." And that's what it felt. I don't remember them saying exactly that, but instead it felt like, instead of helping me in an emotional way that I was needing, it was like, "We're gonna start drug testing you." And so I think I was like doing the pills separated enough that they didn't show up on the drug testing thing, and because they thought I was smoking weed and wasn't smoking weed, and they were like looking specifically for weed, and I think that's what it was. And I was like, I'm not doing weed. And yeah, I'm just self disassociating, just like not eating, doing pills, and I'm just like breaking down. But then people, for some reason, are also on the outside being like, "Oh, she's fine." And I remember I almost overdosed, I think, at family barbecue, and I was like about to like pass out, and I think I just was like, I'm gonna go take a nap, and I just freaking was at a family barbecue and just went to sleep. I'm like, how did like nobody notice? I don't know how nobody was noticing that. And my dad ended up taking me to therapy, and I like told her then, it was just like one day I think I went, and she was like, "Oh," I'm like, "I want to die. Like I don't have a will to live anymore. Like my mom isn't here. I don't get why I have to be here. Why I just lost like I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have anything giving me purpose by any means of encouraging me in the ways that I needed. I also think from doing drugs and all those different things, like I was just screaming for help. I was screaming. I had a conversation with my dad, and I was like talking, we were talking about this like just in the past, and I was like, I was doing all those things because I was wanting you to help me. I was screaming for help, obviously not in a healthy way, but it was me needing help, and mistakes were made. And I look back now with a complete different lens. But yeah, just at the time, I was like, I'm not wanting to be in trouble. I just want you to help me. That's all I want. And so, yeah, I'm sneaking around still. I ended up doing like, I was doing all nighters. I would sneak out my window and I would come back like 7 in the morning, just high on painkillers and Xanax, and doing all of these things that I shouldn't be doing, and numbing myself, wanting to commit suicide, and making plans of actions to do it. Then I went to therapy and she was like, "Promise me you won't." And I promised her I wouldn't. And then I'm hanging out with friends. One of my dad's rules at that time was you are not allowed to be in people's cars. People are just learning how to drive. He didn't want me in anyone's cars because they were learning how to drive. Looking back, I'm like, agreed. But at the time, I'm a little teenager and I'm like, I want to do whatever I want. And so it was the very last day of my freshman year, and we're like, yay, end of school year, woo. And so I'm hanging out with friends, and we go to this diner, and they drive me there to the diner, and they drive me home to drop me off. And I see my dad in the driveway, and I'm like, shit. And so I'm like, reverse, reverse. And like, he ends up seeing me, obviously. He's not stupid. And so I have them drop me off around the corner, and I walk, and he's like, do you really think I'm that stupid? And I'm like, no. And so he was so frustrated and didn't know what I needed or how to help me. And I look back now at that, and that's how I look at it of he just didn't know how to help me at that time, and he was very frustrated. And so he's like, you don't want to follow my rules, you don't want to listen to me, you can go live with Kevin. Oh, that was one thing I totally forgot to tell you guys. So um my biological dad at the time, when I was in the middle, I think it was in the middle of the school year, I obviously all this what I've just told you is going on, and my biological dad is trying to like call me all the time, and I am a teenager. Even a regular teenager stops or like kind of talking to their parents. Like a teenager that has like a perfectly nothing's going on doesn't want to talk to their freaking dad on the phone all the time. That's a normal thing, but he was losing his shit and being like, you need to call me, you need to call me. And I remember I was in the middle of band practice, and it was in the middle of school, and I remember seeing my phone and it lit up, and he's like, you better pick Canada or Maui because your ass is moving. So my dad that raised me doesn't have legal guardianship over me. He would have had to adopt me since my mom passed away. Him and her were not legally married, so he technically could take me if he wanted to. And he was threatening that. He's like, you need to call me, you're freaking moving, you like just losing his shit on me. And I'm like, looking back, I'm like, my mom just died, and you are so like upset that I'm not calling you every day, and you like, what are you talking about? And so yeah, he's threatening that. He's like, you better pick which one, because he's from Canada. And then when I was 12, he moved to Maui, Hawaii. And I was like, what the hell? So I have like, I start hyperventilating because now I'm terrified that I'm going to be ripped away from my family. I'm going to be ripped away from my family. I don't want to leave. This is like a not even I now thinking back, I think it was like only a few months after my mom died. He's threatening this and being like, pack your shit. Literally, I remember him text me that. He said, pack your shit, pick one. And I was like, what is wrong with you? So in the middle of class, I'm like crying, and my band teacher like pulls me out, and he's the one. So he knew my middle school band teacher. How I was telling you earlier, like I had a very good support system there. My middle school band teacher actually knows the high school one, and he let him know like, hey, can you keep an eye on her? He like knew the whole situation, so he like pulls me and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, he's gonna make me move. I'm like hyperventilating, freaking the fuck out, and he just looks at me and he goes, do you need a hug? And I was like, yes. And I just remember, I'm like, that just small kindness was like everything I needed in that moment. And I am so thankful to him in that moment, because that just really fucking helped me. I was like, oh my god, I'm freaking out. Like, I don't want to leave my dad. I don't want to leave my sister. I don't want to leave my home where all of my mom's stuff. I don't want to leave. And so coming back to, because I forgot to tell you guys that. So moving back to the timeline of I'm getting caught, and so then my not my biological dad, my dad that raised me was like, okay, well, I can't fucking deal with you right now. Like, you need to figure out, like, you gotta go. And so he was like, you're gonna be gone for the summer. You're gonna go see your dad, and you're gonna stay with him because you can't fucking listen. And I, at that time, was like, I'm unlovable, and like, you don't love me because you are sending me away. And I know, like, overall perspective, I was going to Maui, Hawaii, and everyone's like, oh my god, Maui, Hawaii, like, you're going on vacation. And I'm like, looking at it, I'm like, what? Like, yeah, of course it's Hawaii. Everyone wants to go to Hawaii. But I'm sitting here like, you're sending me to someone that doesn't even love me. Like, you're sending me to someone that is an absolute piece of garbage that where has he been? And so I fought with that internally. I actually just recently talked to my dad about that, and we like hashed it out, because I had never actually talked to him about it. And I was like, you sent me away and I was screaming for help, and it felt like you just wanted to get rid of me, and that my sister was easier to deal with than me. And I was really upset for many, many years. I was like, what the fuck? And so we hashed out. We're good. We're good. And he was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I made a mistake. Like, I was going through my own stuff then, but that's not an excuse, and I'm sorry. And so that got hashed out in future timing. So, but in the going back to our timeline, I was just very like, what the hell? And so I end up spending the summer there, and I'm like, I'm 15, I'm 14 or 15 at the time, and I end up loving it, obviously, because it's Hawaii. I don't really spend a lot of time with him. Um, he is working for like a he was working for a local family, and they had a bunch of kids, and so I ended up just staying with them because I was like, oh, it's so fun here with the kids. And I didn't have any pills on me. I wasn't smoking weed, and I'm in the sun. It's not rainy and cloudy like it was in Seattle. And it was just it was a complete different atmosphere, and I found my will to live again. And I was like, wow, I'm like way happier here, like being in this sunny environment around these people that are like new. They don't really, they like knew that my mom passed away, but it's like, I was just needing a fresh start. And so instead of going back home, which I didn't end up going back home to Seattle, I talked to my dad and I was like, my dad that raised me. I was like, hey, like, I want to stay. It was a really, 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 really hard decision to make the move because I was leaving everything I knew. I was leaving my cross country teammates. I was leaving my childhood home. I was leaving everything behind to start new in Maui. And I did like a pros and cons list, and it was really, really hard. But I was like, if I go back permanently, I'm going to continue on the road to death. I will continue taking pills. I will continue on my slow decline of life. So I had to make the decision, do I leave my will to live or do I continue on that road? Like going back to just like continuing to do that. So he was like, okay. And so I came home and I packed up my stuff and I moved to Maui July of 2018. And I ended up going to high school here. I'm here now. If you don't know, I'm in Maui now. So I ended up going to high school here, and yeah, I became very happy. And my biological dad did not take care of me a lot. I ended up moving in with a local family. They took care of me. I moved in with him for like a couple months, and then I ended up moving on my own. And so I've been on my own since I was 16 here in Maui. I moved in with another ex boyfriend at the time when I was 17. Yeah, I was 16 turning 17. I've done a lot on my own and I just have survived on my own here very, very well. I'm very proud. But I'm not going to go too deep in that timeline. I just wanted to take the timeline all the way until now so you kind of understand how I got here. So, yeah, I was 16, lived with him for a little, my biological dad for a little bit, but then I was with the local family for a while and then moved back and forth. And then I've been on my own since I was 16. And so then I was living with an ex for a year and a half. And I started my own cleaning business when I was 17, as you guys know. So in that timeline, I do end up back in drug addiction later, but I feel like that is a separate timeline that I want to talk about. That I, yeah, it was wrapped into different things, not with my mom, of why I was doing drugs again and I went through addiction again. So yeah, so when I went back to Seattle to grab my stuff, I flushed all my pills down the toilet because I still have a friend. Hi Naya, if you're watching. Naya and I had a conversation, and she's like, "You go home, you do not touch those, you flush them down the toilet, and you come back, and that is it." And so that is what I did. I came here, and yeah, the little timeline all over the place, but yeah, I refound my will to live in Maui at 16 and to move forward, like I said again in the timelines, moving forward, I didn't start therapy, which I should have been in therapy day of. I didn't start therapy until 2021. I now have been in therapy since then with the same therapist since I was 18. And oh, I love her so freaking much. If you're watching, hello. Um, I just, yeah, I wish I had her way sooner. But yeah, my train of thought is so bad right now. I'm like, what? Huh? So yeah, I ended up going to therapy 2021, and I actually didn't end up talking about my mom until a year later in 2022. So since I was 14, I had stuffed her down all the way until 2022. That is when I was officially ready to heave all this stuff up and kind of talk about it. Before I saw my therapist, I actually, the first year was really, really hard without my mom. Her 1 year anniversary was one of the hardest things. I actually had like a PTSD moment, which was really interesting looking back. Would I remember on her 1 year, I started like hyperventilating, convulsing, and I just laid in a ball all night and replayed horrible moments before she passed and like her suffering, and I was like replaying those moments and was just like convulsing. So from the year on point and continuing on, I actually did not celebrate her birthday. I did not celebrate like um her 1 year anniversary or any of her like death anniversaries. I didn't do any of that because I just was like avoid, avoid, avoid. And I kept her super submerged until, yeah, we're going to hop into now the healing process of what I did. So, first of all, if you are not in therapy, I highly, highly recommend and beg you, please go to therapy. It is important to find a good fit. That is the first thing I'm going to say. You need to find a good fit because not finding a good fit can be damaging. So please find a good fit first, interview a couple of them, and then make a choice. But if you are currently going through this or in the future you go through this, please get in therapy the moment it happens, because if I had that from like, I know as kids, like, and being a parent, you're like, hey, you have to ask them. You can't force them to go. You can't like force your child to go to therapy. But I highly recommend, like, if you have a kid or if you're gonna go through it or going through it, like as soon as possible, you need to hop into therapy. Even if you are not going to talk, because I didn't talk about my mom for a year. Even if you are not going to talk about it, you need to have someone there to support you when you are ready, because you can't keep hiding from it. It's going to eat you alive. I almost lost my life plenty of separate times to like not go to therapy. I'm very happy that one time that I went to therapy with that other therapist that I had her to convince me not to commit suicide. So you need to have a safe place to go to. The moment that I knew that I was looking for a therapist is when I started not going to my friends, not going to my family, but I would start talking to like strangers about like random things that like my mom, and I'm like, why am I was like searching for people outside of my circle, and that is when I was like, okay, I need to get into therapy. Like I'm searching for someone that's outside of them. And so yeah, it took, so then I found my therapist, and then a year later we were talking about this of what was the process of healing. And I started out with giving space to the thoughts of her. So I started giving space to start thinking about her. I started giving space to just think about her memories. Very slow, easy, just like kind of opening it up instead of just stuffing it down there. Kind of took the lid off of it. Then what I did was journaling. Journaling has been a very big process for me that has been very helpful to you guys. But first thing I did is that I wrote like a little poem about her, and it was just, I sat there and I go, okay, what are the first thoughts that come up when I think of her? And I thought of her smile. And I sat and I wrote a little thing of like, what did her smile look like? And just kind of like giving space to her and giving space to how she felt and all those things. Not overwhelming, not a lot, just a little bit. I kind of took the little lid off, and that's it. And then after that, giving her more space. When you lose a loved one, do you want to be able to give them space at some point in time to your heart, to your mind? You want to give them space. So then kind of encouraging that for me, I created an altar for her. And so I made her a little altar. I like bought her a little statue of, it was like a statue of a pig because I thought she would like it. I put pictures of her. I put like little crystals on there. The second thing that I did was I started, or second thing, we're on third, or whatever number thing. I started writing letters to her. So, number one is giving space. Number two is kind of just number two. Oh my gosh, my brain. So, number one is giving space. Number two is doing the altar. So, doing the altar. And number three is writing letters. I started writing letters to her. So I would do Christmas ones, I do birthday ones, I do whenever I'm thinking of her. In the beginning, it was more of like, okay, I kind of just like want to talk to her. So I would just write her a little letter, I would fold it up and then put it on her altar. So it's kind of just encouraging your brain to continue to open up that space to her and to open up that space of being like, okay, I can talk to her, I can give her the more space in my brain so it feels safe. The third, fourth, oh my god, I need to like have an actual list. I just have random lists. The fourth thing was that I got her ashes. My dad, I forget what year it was, but for a while I was like, I don't want anything to do with her ashes. I don't want any of it. None of it. Don't want it. Mm-mm. Then like couple 3 years later, I think, my dad was like, I came home and he was like, here, I want you to have the rest of her. Like, I took some, your sister took some, and then I gave some to my brother, but I have the rest of her ashes. And that was having like a physical part of her really helped a lot to especially put it on her altar and to have her like within my home was surprisingly very healing. I talked to my brother about this too, of like how healing it is to have a part of them, even that it's so little. It was a very healing process to like sit there and kind of like contemplate. I was like, whoa, that's crazy to like have a piece of her. The other thing, so we are on five now, I believe. We're on, yeah, five. And so the other thing that I did after the ashes is that I made a physical, so yes, I have the altar, yes, I have the letters, I'm giving her mental space, emotional space within me. And like, this is not an easy process. I'm not telling you these things. It's like, yeah, just like write her a note and then you like feel better. No, I'm not telling you that at all. I'm not telling you to be like, yeah, and then you just do all these things and magically you're better. No, that is not what's going to happen. Giving her space in my brain, first of all, in my heart, was insanely intense, very emotional, and a lot came up. A lot of crying, a lot of just like, because I'm not trying to avoid it all, I'm just letting it surface and then release. Letting it surface and then release. So the next thing that I did from there was I made a physical space to go to outside of my house to visit her. So there's a place over here called Eau Valley, and I spread some of her ashes in Eau Valley. So now I have a specific rock that I go to every time, and I go visit her and we hang out. I will spread a little bit of her ashes on her birthday, on her death day, and then I have a space to go sit with her physically outside my home. For me, that is very, very healing to have like a space that I can just go like talk to her outside of my house that feels very sacred. So, creating sacred space for her, for your loved one to come visit you, to give space to just talk out loud, and to spread their ashes if you have their ashes. The other thing that I want to say was one of the biggest things to help me. One of the biggest things. People say that there is no shortcut to healing, and I think that's a lie. I think that's a lie because I went to breath work and my therapist actually told me to go. She's like, I have homework for you and you have to do it. She didn't say exactly like that, but she was like, I really recommend that you go. I'm just, here's their number, you should go. So I am so excited. I really want them on my podcast. But Nick and Paulina, if you're listening, hello. I went to their breath work, Breath of Life, and it is, I just, amazing doesn't even cut it. So my first time going to breath work was with, I've done like breath work before, but the specific type of breath work that they do is very intense. So I went through on Mother's Day. I forget what year. It's been over a year now, or maybe two, that I went to their class. I was so nervous because it is community. It's not one on one. Well, you can book on one, but it was in a community of people. I went on Mother's Day, and it was a very small group because Mother's Day, I think people are usually with their moms or doing whatever they're doing. And so I went there and I was so scared. I was so nervous. And the type of breath it is, I forget what exactly it's called, but it's in through the belly, in through the chest, and then you let it go. So, and so I think it's important to be sitting down when you're doing that, or in a space that it is being facilitated. And so I went there, and so it's 45 minutes, I believe, breath work, and then an open heart meditation, and then it's community, like sitting and sharing if you want to. That, I have to say, quantum leaped my, like, I mean quantum fucking leaped my healing process with my mom. It like opened it up like that because I went with the intention. I went with the intention of like, I'm gonna give space to my mom right now. I'm gonna open up all of this grief, all this hurt, everything that I've been holding on. It was like a specific place to just rip it open. Because in therapy, therapy is a place that you can just rip it open, but for some reason in this way, it was like an energetic rip open. And so I just went there and ripped that shit open. And I was like, I am ready to let go of this grief. I am ready to just let it go. I'm going to cry. I'm going to scream. I'm going to do the shit. And just, and so that helped a lot with my healing process. So, yes, the breath work that just ripped that shit open and really quantum leaped the whole healing process. I had, like, Nick and Paulina together are absolutely amazing. So Paulina comes over and she was like touching my shoulders, and it felt like my mom's presence, and I was just like, oh god, and I'm just screaming and crying, and I had a lot of realizations, and it just like all of it came up, and I was like, oh my god. So in the last episode, I talked about how my mom had a big fear of me being mad or angry with her that she was sick. So I never wanted her to feel like that. I never wanted to be like that. Little did I know, I was so upset with her because it felt like she abandoned me. And that is so hard to think about and process because she didn't purposely leave me. She didn't just like walk away. And I realized that like I felt so abandoned by her, even though she didn't purposely abandon me, obviously, but I was so scared of ever being like upset with her. And I was just like, I'm fucking pissed. I'm fucking pissed because I feel like you abandoned me. I have been left here on this earth alone without you. Like, I'm not alone, but you know what I mean? Like, I have to live this life without you, and you left me. And to feel that anger and to feel like I'm breathe through that and actually like really sit there with that and be like, what the fuck? Like, I feel abandoned, and like I didn't deserve that, and like obviously she didn't deserve to like have to leave me, but that was like one of the bigger eye-opening moments that I was like, I'm fucking pissed with her. And it feels weird to be upset with someone that in those circumstances obviously have no control over, but it was just frustrating. And to feel that frustration, even though it doesn't feel logical, but just like let that shit like go and just like let you, no matter the emotion, just let it fully just pass through you, is what breath work really did for me. And so yeah, those are like the really, really big things that help me process her. The other thing is now my process with her. So now that I've went through so now first thing first was opening your brain space and your heart space for her, writing letters and journaling to her, creating an altar and giving space within your home to them, and having a physical place to go outside of your home and sit with them, spreading their ashes or obtaining some part of them that you can spread to like mother nature. And breath work is what we have so far. Those are the things, and therapy at the top, tippy top, are those biggest things that help me a lot. Now, since we have worked through all of those, I am now in the space that I will go to EOW and I will go and visit her. So I still visit her on her birthday. Mother's Day, I now celebrate too. I didn't celebrate Mother's Day for a very, very long time. I so I celebrate her birthday, Mother's Day, and her death day are all three things that I celebrate regularly for her. So I bring her her favorite flowers. So I think for me, creating a space to go visit them is important because then you can gift them things. You can bring them things that you know that will bring them joy or bring you joy to share with them. And so, yeah, I brought her like a whole bouquet of roses, and now I have gone through the grieving process of now I'm just so fucking happy that I get to have a relationship with her even after she has passed. So now I go there and I sit and I just like now I go there and I just yap with her. I go, so this is my day, and this is what's happening. Oh, this is what Dad's doing. This is what my brothers are doing, and like it gives space to go and just yap with them. Just going and being able to speak out loud to them is very important to me, or I think is very important in general. So yeah, I give space to talk. And last time I did that, I went there and I was giving space and I was just telling her, and I was just like, actually, no, I want to talk about the first time, actually. So there's been separate occasions. So I told you earlier, oh my God, I saw a bee came up. The first time I ever spread her ashes, I saw this little bee. This bee flew up to me and landed. I had her in a little jar and landed right on top of the jar. And it turned around in a circle and it sat on its butt and stared at me. And I was like, that's not a coinkydink. There's no way that's a coinkydink. That's like impossible. And so that happened, and my friends were there and they saw it, and I was like, whoa. And after that, I ended up actually listening to a podcast on when you're grieving your loved ones, or like after not I don't want to say after the grieving process, because the grieving process is a lifetime. It is never ending. But a lovely process to add into it is to give your loved one a sign, because it makes it easier for them to communicate, because our logical brains are always like, oh, that didn't happen, or that's like too like, what is that? Like, we try to logically make it make sense. And so for me, I give her the signs of bees and I give her the signs of butterflies, or giant moths are like the bigger thing. Like there's these giant moths here in Hawaii and they're fucking huge. So I'm like, oh, a moth. And I love like blue butterflies. So I've given her a couple different signs. She shows up in all of them. But when I learned about actually giving them like one, or like giving them like a sign, I decided to like test it out. So the woman that, I forget what podcast, I feel so bad, but if I find it I'll link it below. But she was saying to give like 72 hours, like give them a sign and give them like time to respond. And I gave her the sign of blue butterflies. I was like, I want to see a blue butterfly. I'm like, there's no blue butterflies here in Hawaii, but I want to see one. And within, I think, like 2 hours, I went to Barnes and Noble and I saw these giant blue butterflies on books. And I love Barnes and Noble. I go in there all the fucking time. I'd never seen them before. And so I was like, what the heck? And so now, and then I went traveling and I went to Boston and I saw these butterflies everywhere. And it's like, when it is a sign and you know what's from them, you can feel it. Like it's not just you being like, oh yeah, no, you can like, you're like, oh my God, that's her, that's it. And so yeah, assigning them a sign for them easily to be able to communicate with you is very important. A thing that I do want to talk about really quick is when you are the initial grieving part, so like the first, I want to say year, it's really, really hard to even think about giving them a sign. Or I didn't even know about any of these things then, but just to think about those things, I think of like your frequency, or like think of like you crying and you're like, oh my God, like, why aren't you here? Like, what the heck? And you're just like, all these heavy emotions are coming out of you, and you're like, why can't you be here? Why can't I see you? And like, give me a sign. Like, when you're in that state, it's so hard for them to get through to you. I just imagine like my mom was sitting there like the whole time. She's like, I'm right here, I'm right here, like I'm right here, but you just can't see me. You can't, like, you're too in your like initial grief process to have your eyes open to that part of the universe yet. It takes a long time. Please be patient with yourself. Please be gentle with yourself in these initial times of processing. I don't want you, this, if you're in the initial process of like a month or whatever it is, I don't want you being like, why hasn't the sign showed up? Like, ugh, like, give yourself some ease, give yourself some time, give yourself some grace. It took me a very fucking long time to get where I'm at and to even be able to talk about her. So please be gentle with yourself. Um so yeah, giving them a sign, celebrating her, bringing her things to her place of like where you choose to visit them. Now, now that I've done each one of those little steps, I have now been to a place where I'll go visit her. And the last time that, so I was telling you about like when I saw the bee, I saw a dragonfly one time, because I always go there and I get like, I'm like, send me a sign. I had a dragonfly land like right by me. I have bees come up to me. I So now I've been like doing that little process of like going there and I like ask for a very little thing and then it happens. And it's like really, I'm loving that relationship that I have with her. So then the last few times that I went, so I went, I want to say a few months ago, and I was just like, I love you. I miss you. I'm so happy to have my relationship with you. And I was sitting there and I was just like giving space, just like to sit there. And I heard the water go like, poof, poof, like so much higher, like out of nowhere. And it got super intense. And then I heard like a sea of voices almost. I know I probably sound crazy, but believe if you want. And I heard like these like sea of voices, and it was really, and I kept like opening my eyes and like looking around. I'm like, there's no one else around me. It's only me. And I remember it felt like if you put your hand right next to your face, it felt like someone was doing that, like sitting right next to me. So then I'm like, who's next to me? And so that's happening. I'm hearing the sea of voices, and then I get this like overwaving like feeling of frustration, and it clicked into place. And I was like, oh my God, my mom is trying to talk to me right now, and she's fucking irritated. She's trying to like push through, and she's like, come on, let me at her, move, bitches, let me get through. And it was absolutely insane to have that experience. And at first I was like, oh, that's like not real. I'm like, what the fuck? And I had another situation before that. It was like one of the initials when I saw the bee. I was laying on my back and I was looking up at the sky, and I saw like this, I would say like kind of energy ball type of thing, like kind of like wave in the sky. And I was like, it clicked into place with me. She's actually the one that helped me realize like what universe is and how we connect with the universe and how it was all connected. I was like laying there and I saw like this just energy, and it was like very interesting, and it just kind of like downloaded, it clicked into place, and I was like, oh my God, you're always around, you're always here with me because you are connected to the universe. And it was like, whoa, it just opened up my eyes. So these little things are happening. The bee happened, the dragonfly, the energy, the now the like voices and the pressure like right by my face, and it's like all starting to trickle in. And so my goal for the year is to like connect with her deeper and deeper and deeper. And I then went to lunch like a week later, and I was telling my psychic friend about this, and she's just an amazing magical human being. And so I was just like, you won't think I'm crazy. Like, hey, I was like talking to my mom. And so she was like, oh my God. And in the beginning of the lunch, I kept feeling that physical pressure, the same thing. And I kept looking behind me. And she asked me, she was like, hey, like, I kept seeing you like look behind you. I keep seeing a lady with like curly hair and piercing eyes. And I was like, oh my God, that's my mom. And I thought that was like so magical for like my friend to be able to experience her. And so as time is going on, my relationship with her is deepening. And to realize even after death, that bond does not break. That bond does not break. That bond does not go anywhere. And if you are afraid that it does, I am here to tell you that it fucking doesn't. That bond does not break. You do not need to be afraid that your loved one is not there on the other side, because I am living proof that it is. I would never lie to you. This has happened to me. And I am so fucking grateful that my mom has been able to be with me along every step of my life since, and to be able to just sit with her and experience her in such a fucking magical way. I am so happy. And I just think of like the magic that it creates in my life and the magic that I get to experience on a day-to-day basis. I also was doing a meditation the other morning, and it was through, if you're not on Wild Minds, I highly recommend going on Wild Minds. Shout out. I use a meditation app called Wild Minds, and I was doing one of her name's Molly's meditations, and it was about happiness. And I saw like this forest, and it was like imagining your life as like a forest, and you see like the sun light its way. And as I was meditating, I kind of felt a presence, and I was like closing my eyes and I'm meditating, and I see my mom, and she's like reaching her hand out behind her, like, come on, let's go. And I was like, it clicked into place right then and there for me that they on the other side, like my mom, like they have been reaching out. They've been like, here's my hand, come take it. It's up to me now to reach out and to make the effort to create even more space for her to come sit with me and to come hang out with me. And it's up to me to reach out. She's been reaching out this whole entire fucking time. She has not gone anywhere. My dad and my sister have dreams of her, and she comes and visits them, and that's how she connects with them, is through dream form. Mine is a little different, and it's so funny because they'll text me and I'll be like, "Hey, can you send her back already? She's been with you for a while." And I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. I'm like, Mom, go hang out with them. Like, I'll be here. Like, come back when you want. And so, yeah, to be able to reach out with her and to have this relationship with her is so fucking magical. And I think about one of the listeners that messaged me. She said that she had a daughter, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait to have this relationship with one of my own children. And if you have kids, if you have had a loved one die, whatever, whatever the case is, if you are nervous about that bond breaking, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't. It doesn't. Your kids will love you. You That bond will break. That bond will never break. Like, I just wanted to like emphasize that I just love my bond with my mom. When you have a relationship that is healthy, that is so overpowerful, like just so powerful with love in that way, that I hope you can feel it, that that bond doesn't break. So I know this episode was probably a little bit wobbly. It was a little all over the place. It was kind of hard to like piece together that timeline all the way until now, because it was just like, I if you're going through healing processes, you're like, oh my God, there's just like so much going on in those times. So I hope it made sense. I hope it landed. I hope that it helps you and heal. Like, I hope it helps you in healing in some sort of way. I'm like all over the place. I'm so excited. So yeah, I hope it helped you in some sort of way. I love you. Thank you so much for listening. I just appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come sit with me and listen to my stories. and I hope it heals you in some sort of way. I don't know. I'm just all over the place. So thank you so much. Um, oh yeah, Flavor Club, duh. The Flavor Club, welcome. If you don't know what the Flavor Club is and you're new here, the Flavor Club is the comment section down below and you comment your flavor of the day. I didn't even realize the last like 3 episodes have been all peppermint themed. Had no I've been feeling like a lot of fresh energy lately of just like, ooh, newness, freshness, But I want to like think about something that's like not peppermint related. Um, hmm, what flavor am I today? I'm trying to think. Hmm. Oh, this one's so hard today. I'm always like something sweet, I think. I love like sweet things. I'm thinking of like salted caramel right now. Like I feel like a little like crunch. I feel a little salty. I feel a little salty and like cozy and like nostalgic a little bit. Like caramel to me is like nostalgic for some reason because it was one of my favorite candies when I was little. So yeah, I'm salted caramel today. Little crunchy bits of salt. So that's that's me. That's me today. Crunchy salt. Crunchy salted caramel. So yeah, what is your flavor? I want to know what your flavor is. Comment down below. DM me your flavor too. I'll link my Instagram down below. Please reach out. Please connect. I hope that you are able to go through this process of healing and deeply, deeply connect with your loved ones on the other side. I love you. Please DM me. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear about your loved ones. I want to hear about if you're currently in this process. Let me know what you think. I hope you loved this episode. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. I love you.